All right, we're broadcasting to you live from a van down by the river. It's a night shift. It's 12:07 on the East Coast, but it's nighttime somewhere. And we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff today. The live stream that broke the internet. Pavel broke the internet. Pavel and Patrick broke the internet yesterday, I think. That object that's coming towards the planet, they named it Pavel. It's all over the news. I'm just kidding. They haven't named it Pavel. How's everybody doing today? It's Friday, TGIF. You hate when people say that. I I told my son to say it when he walked into school today. I said, Jack, walk in. Say TGIF. And he did. He's Mr. Popular. So that was great. We had fun. Also, picked up a new book. A is for Alien. It's a little golden book, an ABC book. And it is excellent if you're looking for a book for your little one. This one is great. It tells the story of Alien. Face F is for face hugger, but you don't want it to hug you. It's great. So this is a little light reading. Let's see what's going on. YouTube is not receiving enough video to maintain smooth streaming. As such, viewers will experience glitchiness. If anybody experiences glitchiness, let me know. We're starting earlier today. We're doing it a little bit differently today because I have a thing at 2 and I have to I can't move it, so it's got to be that. It's got to be now. It's got to be now. Also, I've kind of been wanting to do them a little bit earlier. Because when I do them later in the day, it just everything kind of cramps up at the end of the day, and it bottlenecks, and it becomes a little crazy. So I'm starting to think maybe I'll push these back a little bit. So let me know what you think of the new time. Greetings from the UK. Hey UK, we have UK shipping on the website now. So if you want to buy any merch, UK shipping is open. Vetted was crazy yesterday. Yes, it was. It was. I actually did not think it was going to be that crazy. It's funny because Patrick called me before we did that live stream. And he said, hey, man, I just want to go over some stuff with you and just make sure we're all on the same page and, just kind of figure out what we were going to talk about in what order. And he's like, I think this one's going to be kind of a spicy meatball. And I go, what do you mean? And he's like, well, I don't want to get too much into it, but from what I understand, it's going to be an interesting one. And it was. So, yeah, it's blowing up on the internet today, and we got memed. So if you haven't seen it already, here it is. Does it rhyme with Shmigelow? It might. We're going to talk about Robert Bigelow today. I mean, Shmigelow. Shmigelow. That's one of my favorite things ever now. That blew up. That was designed by our graphic designer, Cole Watkins, by the way. So if you're interested, actually, Cole put that together. Thank you, Cole, for I think it was 45 minutes after we were live, he sends me a text, and that's what it was. And I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever. Let's check the chat and see who's here today. Sam's here. Hey, Sam. Kyle, Jason, Richard, Chris Hovord. Welcome. Shout out to our mods, Chris and Brett. I don't know if Brett, are you here? Richard's here. That was a good one. So we're going to talk about that one today. And I have a few other clips to show you that will expand on some of the stuff that we talked about. Now, we'll just recap a little bit. Real quick, before I do, quick channel update. We broke 13,000 subscribers. We broke 13,000 subscribers 2 days ago, actually, or a day and a half ago. And now we're at 13,215. So go team. Congratulations. We're moving up in the world. 13,215 subscribers as of right now. 2,000 new subs in the last 28 days. Thank you to everybody who has subscribed recently. Thank you for being here. Welcome aboard. It's great to have you as part of Team Night Shift. If you're new here, Team Night Shift is sort of a loose group of wayward UFO nerds and geeks and people who just we're trying to find some kind of common conversation space for the weirdest thing ever. And it would appear that the biggest conspiracy theory of all time, apparently, come to find out, is for real. And so I started Night Shift as a way to sort of vent about it because my friends and family were sick and tired of listening to me talk about UFOs. And so if you find yourself in a similar position and people are just tuning you out or standing up and walking away or do the earmuffs, or if they just pretend to listen, sometimes they'll do that too. Come hang out with us. You don't need those people. Come hang out with us. Team Night Shift. That's what we do. So live streams every Friday. We're doing members only Monday live streams, which I might switch up a little bit. We'll get into that another time. And Fridays. And I'm thinking about moving Fridays to a newer time. So we're going to be changing a few things, but stick with me while we polish up the old Night Shift global media empire. Special thanks to all our members, everybody who's become a member. We have some new members in just the last few days. Let's take a look. Who are our new members? You guys are the heart of Team Night Shift. New members, Benjamin Bruce, welcome aboard. Joined 1 day ago. Thank you for being here. Isaac Rodman, thank you. Welcome aboard. Great to have you. Everyone else, I'm going to have to make like rolling credits to just start thanking everybody. That's something I have to find the time to do. So great to see everybody here. Yesterday we had an interesting live stream with Pavel from Psychoactivo and Patrick and Simon Holland about the James Webb Space Telescope and an object. I have to be careful how I say this. I reached out to Pavel before doing this to ask him how he wanted me to kind of handle this because I know he's in a sensitive spot with some of this information. But from what we talked about yesterday, there's a rumor. Right now, it's just a rumor, but Pavel has it on good authority that there is reason to believe there is some kind of an object that has been spotted moving in the direction of our planet. Distance, size, speed, these are details we do not have, but apparently, according to the sources that Pavel has spoken to, and again, this is just a rumor, there are briefings that are taking place in Congress, and people are discussing this. I have no idea if that's for real. I don't know. So I'm going to say that right out of the gate. I can't add anything to what Pavel has said. I just know that when he made that video, he put out a video on his own channel. That video took off. And then we did the live stream with Patrick yesterday, and that took off even more. And in that conversation, we were kind of having a few different conversations all in one live stream. There was the thing that Pavel is talking about, which is this, again, rumor. And he even says that it's a rumor of some information that there may be some kind of an object on its way here. And then Simon Holland was talking about James Webb Space Telescope spotting a biosignature, potentially spotting a biosignature or a technosignature from a planet that it has looked at, and that information is being examined closely and verified before any announcements are made. And then there is also conversation about a signal that was received and processed. And I may be getting this a little bit wrong here, but apparently SETI at home, if you remember SETI at home, this distributed screensaver that processed SETI data on individual computer workstations. So like you could download the screensaver and run it on your computer. I had it on mine. I had it on a couple of my computers. And it would just, whenever your screensaver would come on, it would run in the background and it would process data from SETI, and that data would get sent back to wherever it goes and analyzed. According to what Simon was saying, at least as far as I understand it, they managed to identify some candidates for potential signals in there, and that is being looked at very closely. And apparently, that information, once it is, if it is verified and reaches the right threshold of confidence, then they'll come forward and make a statement about it. And so those are two conversations that were going on, and then I was having a sort of a third conversation that straddled both of those topics, which is, so before Pavel blew up the internet, Matt Ford blew up the internet the other day on the Good Trouble show when he interviewed Lou Elizondo and asked him about the rumors of some kind of an impending event. For those of you who are new to this idea, within the UFO UAP community, there has been talk forever. I mean, at least as far back as the mid 80s, as far as I understand, of some kind of an event, a thing that's going to happen. And it's going to be impossible to ignore, impossible to overlook, impossible to spin it any other way. It's going to be something so huge that it'll close the book on this whole conversation, right? Like that's kind of what we're all waiting for, right? It's fun to talk about UFOs, and it's fun to look at video of sightings, and it's fun to look at photos of things that are kind of weird, and it's spooky to have conversations about anomalous experiences, and there's like a real campfire vibe to this world right now. But there's this small group, I don't want to say it's a minority, but there's a smaller group of people within the UFO community that are having, and I kind of count myself in this group a little bit. But there's sort of a Linda Hamilton and Terminator 2 moment that's going on right now. Remember when Linda Hamilton's in that scene? Why she didn't win an Academy Award for this, I don't know. I just watched T2 the other day. It's so good. But when they've got her with Dr. Silberman in the hospital, and they're watching her tape, and she's talking about her vision for the future, which she sees. And it's like, it's such a powerful scene. It's like, oh my God, she should have won the Academy Award. Who did win that year? Anyway, was that 1992? Doesn't matter. There's been a rumor going around in the community forever that there's some kind of an event coming, and that it's going to get here, and we're going to all experience it, and it's just going to be the thing. And when it's finally said and done, like it'll just be the dawn of a new age, and it'll just that'll just be the end of everything before, and we'll be doing something new. Now, what could that look like? It could look like a bunch of different things. It could one thing it could be would be just a direct signal that was picked up, like a message, just a direct message that was sent to us and decoded and meant for us to read and interpret and understand and just communicating. That's one thing, and that would be that'd be exciting, but it wouldn't be, I don't think, earth shattering. It would change things, but it wouldn't change things like overnight. But the other thing it could be is they just show up. And that's not my quote. They just show up is coming from retired CIA officer John Ramirez in his interview on, was it That UFO podcast? I think I have the clip somewhere bumming around here. But he says, if they just show up and there's no explanation, then people are going to be really pissed. And so my conversation has been all around this topic, right? This is what I'm trying to figure out lately. I'm kind of like focused in on this. What is happening that is forcing, like, why is all this disclosure stuff happening now? Right? Why is it happening now? Why wasn't it happening 10 years ago, 15 years ago? Why isn't it happening 10 years from now? Like, why right now? It seems like a really weird time. Why is it a weird time if it could have been at any time? Well, it's a weird time because if you look at where we're at as a species, we're kind of in a weird moment right now, aren't we? We're on just the brink, the tiniest like inkling of what's to come vis-a-vis artificial intelligence and super advanced technology. Our own technology is getting to the point where it's going to run away from us. And we're already, according to Simon yesterday, we're not in the knee of the curve. We're already on the upward swing of the hockey stick. If you look at Kurzweil's singularity prediction chart, Ray Kurzweil is like 86% accurate on his predictions about future technology. It's in the 80s. It's above 80%. And the times that he has been wrong, he's usually too conservative. The thing happens like he predicted the I forget what the year it was that he initially said that a computer would beat a human at chess, but it actually happened like 2 years before he predicted it would. So he's been really, really accurate, and there's that. So right, we have the singularity taking off. We're in the beginning stages of that. You're seeing that now with all of this. We were just talking about this yesterday. Artificial intelligence is doubling or tripling or increasing by orders of magnitude in power every couple of months now. It's not even years anymore. It's just like every 3 months. Like, oh yeah, ChatGPT is now smarter than all humans combined, like 6 months from now. I think they said it went from a pretty smart college student to like a PhD level intelligence just in the last couple of days, if I understand right, just from what I've seen. So that's happening. What else is happening? Well, you may have noticed if you look around ever or go outside ever or watch the news ever that the climate is super fucked up. Well, that's real. That's happening. And that's a problem. There was We Are Yellow Dot put out a graphic yesterday that said the combined weight of all of the carbon in the atmosphere is more than the combined weight of all life on the planet. If you took all biological life on the planet, it weighs more than everything we've ever built combined. It weighs a whole lot more than like Mount Everest, like just by millions and millions of tons. It's an enormous amount. It was like 2.2 trillion tons of carbon. Somebody can find that graphic. So that's going on. Why are these interesting things? Well, they're global. There's the scale and impact is global. AI's impact is potentially beyond global. So it appears to me that there is some kind of a event that is out there. We can't really tell exactly what it is, but you can almost sort of see the outline of something. You can detect that there's something there. There is an elephant in the room that's pushing things forward. And it could also be that there has been talk of NHI just showing up. I mean, if you think about it, it's not that out there, right? Like we have gone in the last since 2017. In like 2015, if you talked about UFOs too much, you could conceivably lose your job over it, or you could find yourself in a different career. After 2017, it's the most popular thing on the internet to talk about. That's all anybody wants to talk about is aliens. They're asking every presidential candidate about aliens. It's being talked about in Congress. It's being talked about everywhere. What happened? Yeah, right. Like we know the events that took place. This is New York Times, Leslie Kean article. We're going to come to Leslie in a minute. I have a clip for you about her. Uh, Go Fast Gimbal, Tic Tac, all the stuff that we've heard. Lou Elizondo's book, David Grush, Carl Nell, all these things. It's all happening now. So you have all these people that are extremely qualified, well regarded within their profession, top of their field, top of their game, best of the best at what they do in both the UFO, UAP world and in the artificial intelligence world. And both of these groups of people, both of these groups are coming forward right now and they're saying, whoa, 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 we need to be thinking about the very, very near future because things are going to get really weird. So I think those two events are not necessarily linked yet. If they're not linked yet, they will be, but they are going to come into contact with one another. And there's something else to all this that we can't quite see yet. So when Matt Ford on the Good Trouble show asked Lou Elizondo about is there some kind of an event that is going to take place? And I'll pull up that clip for those of you who haven't seen it. Let's back up to that. And I'll show you where all this kind of the point of origin. All right, so I did a video on this the other day. Here it is. Let me see if I could just share this with you. Where is it? Let's say it's this one. There it is. Okay, so it's this one. And we're going to cut to the clip after, let's see, right about, here we go. Okay, so here's the clip. Let me get this video, or this audio up for you. So you can hear this. This is the full clip of what Matt was asking Lou.
UAP that may occur within, like. Now, there have been some significant rumors of events regarding UAP that may occur within, like 10 years or so. I don't know if it's something coming or a natural disaster. You hear of something big coming down the pike. Have you heard of these claims? And if so, do you have any idea what it may be?
Yes, I've heard of them. Yes, I'm aware of them, and I'm not able to have that conversation.
Got it.
It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it.
Reaction shot. It's not my conversation to have, but I am aware of it. But did you hear how like clunky and disjointed that answer was? It's not a smooth no. It's not like there's a way to not answer a question. And you'll see people do this in congressional hearings all the time. They're like, I have no recollection of that. I have never heard of that. I have no information on that. And it's quick and it's like, or no, I just don't know. But that's not what Lou said. He goes like, yeah, I'm aware of it, but it's not my conversation to have. Suggesting, of course, that there is a conversation to have. It belongs to someone else who's not him, probably someone of in a different chain of command or a different level, I guess. I don't know. Maybe the president. So into this rumor void, we're going to fill it with, tons of speculation. And that's what I've been doing is speculating on what it could be talking about. So in Pavel's video, his reveal the other day, or his video the other day was talking about this rumor of potentially there is an object that they are aware of, they being people inside the government who are up to speed on some of this stuff ostensibly. And there are preparations in place to deal with whatever the results will be of this thing, whatever it may be. And again, like there's no detail on what it is, how big it is, how far away it is, how fast it's traveling, when it would actually arrive, if it is coming here, in fact, and what all that stuff means. So why am I still preoccupied with this? Because it's not just, if I were hearing this from just one place, it would be one thing. But I'm hearing rumors that rhyme from a bunch of different places, and I'm going to show you those things, and we're going to talk about them today. And I'm going to see if you guys get the same heebie-jeebies that I'm getting, because there's vibes coming off of this thing, and I don't know how else to put it. It's just what it is. So let's take a look at the chat real quick, see where everybody's at, and then I'm going to talk about. I'll tell you what else we're going to cover today. Johnny J says, "I wish they would bring up UAP in the debates. If they do, they'll probably blow it off. Like it'll be a throwaway question or something. I doubt they'll take it seriously." Nibiru, the so-called ninth planet. It's not really a planet. Passion for Beauty says, my mom said Nibiru. Hi, Mom. I don't know if you're watching. Hi, Dad, if you're watching. My folks watch every show. Biggest fans. The original Team Night Shift. Let's see. Who else? Night Shift, you should clip that and make it a short on YouTube. Chris Howard, yes, I'm going to. This is just one of the 300,000 other things I have on my list of things I absolutely need to do. Editing just takes so much time. It takes so much time, and it just you have, especially during the day, like little blocks of time that aren't, you need like 9 hours of continuous unbroken concentration to really edit something nicely. At a minimum level, and it's just hard to find that sometimes. Clipping these little things, you got to go back and watch them. You got to find them. You got to pull all that stuff. Okay, so Keep the chat going. You guys are doing great. This is the first thing I want to show you. We're going to talk about the potential object coming here and the stuff that I'm looking at. And then I also want to talk to you about, because I brought this up the other day, the Stephen Greer, Lou Elizondo beef that seems to be going on. There's this like internet feud between the two. And you have Stephen Greer suggesting that Elizondo is some kind of a psyop plant intelligence operative, deep undercover, trying to pull the wool over our eyes for some reason. And this is all one gigantic, sophisticated psyop. And that's kind of the position that I understand Stephen Greer has. And then Lou said the other day, he doesn't say it directly, but he it's pretty obvious he's talking about Stephen Greer, referred to this story that has been going around about Greer throwing flares out of an airplane during one of his CE5 events to try and convince people that that there were UAPs in the area when in fact there were not, and then charging a lot of money for people to come see this. So I put it to the audience and I said, I haven't seen anything to substantiate this, but I've heard this claim so many times. Can somebody find this and send it to me and show me what you're talking about? Like, what is this Stephen Greer thing? Well, they did. I have the article and I have the clip and I watched it, and wow, it's uncomfortable. But we'll take a look at that and a few other things as well. So this is the clip. I'm going to show you this clip from Pavel's channel. This is from Pavel's original video on Psychoactivo podcast. And this is up on our Night Shift Reddit page. So you can go to the Night Shift Reddit and check this out. Let me cue this up for you. Let's take a look. By the way, we're on Reddit. Team Night Shift. Check us out.
Asked to look at a possible incoming contact. So an object that they spotted. This person that I've been talking to was asked to not talk about the details yet, but they can tell me that the first discovery, the lights, came from ESA, the European Space Agency. The other one is coming from the USA Canadian team, also from James Webb though, but they're the ones leading this investigation. It was tasked from either the NSA or the DoD. They don't know who's the one tasking it, but yes, it is part of this quote-unquote threat narrative, which I don't agree with. And the signal that is incoming is the big unknown. What they know is that it is coming. What they don't know is what the hell it is. This is what I'm told. Again, I am trying to get people from Congress, either Congress people or staffers. I'm already talking to someone who's gonna potentially get me those connections within 15 days or so to give me an official quote. I am not gonna reveal their names though, but I am going to ask them to give their names to me so I can safely give you the information, because I think it is important to keep you guys informed on this as accurately as possible and stop the fear mongering, because it is not smart to do this, guys. It is not. Another detail that was given to this person that I'm talking to is that this object is making moves, breaking moves, and course correcting moves. So that means that it is not a natural satellite. That means that it is not an asteroid either. It's coming this way, and it is massive. I wasn't given speed of this object. I wasn't given dimensions. It was very vague, and this is what Congress people are being told as well. But there is another nugget of information that they're being told, which is the reason they are doing these unclassified briefings, because apparently there is some level of urgency. That doesn't mean that it's a threat, but it needs to be looked at and it needs to be studied. And I guess we need all hands on deck with this, because Elizondo is already talking about it. Matt Ford is already talking about it. I know that more people are gonna start coming forward with it over the next 10 days or so. But another source that I've been talking to told me that this same story has already been mentioned since 2016, and documents, official documents on it, have been promised and not delivered. So a lot of people who have heard about this don't consider this is true because there has been no evidence to support the claims. What is new for me and for this person that spoke to me about this, old news, he says, is that Congress people are being briefed about it as we speak constantly. And now that Matt is.
All right, so you get the idea. And now I'm going to show you. This is the clip that's going. It's blowing up on Reddit right now. Let me just. I'll cut to this, and you can see what this is. This is the next day or day or two after we're having the conversation about this.
How confident are you that it's true that there is an object detected by James Webb that's headed towards Earth that is massive? Like how confident are you in that, not in that information you got from your source?
More than confident, it's like I'm weary that this information is being passed around. I don't know if it's true. I know that it is being passed around.
Sure.
That I'm confident of.
Sure.
But I want to know their motive for talking about this and
Got it.
why it's being like urgently communicated.
Do you feel that information's being weaponized to some
I
extent?
don't know. It is possible because
Is this tied to what Lou was saying on Matt's show?
yeah, it is.
Do you think those two things are the same thing?
Is that confirmed or you think it is?
I asked and I didn't get a no. I can talk about it.
That's so
Can
weird.
you say
man.
who you asked or like
No.
Matt or Lou? Okay.
No, I
Okay.
can't say.
I mean, it would have to be Lou.
All right.
He's the only one to confirm or deny that.
I mean, that whole conversation was just
There's
so
a whole group.
weird.
There's a whole group that knows about
Yeah.
this, Patrick. It's not just them two, you know.
Right.
So you
it's
think
a-
Matt does know about it? Matt Ford
Yeah.
knows about this. Okay.
Yeah,
Which is why he asked the question, essentially. Okay, that's interesting.
So that's what the hubbub is all about. Like that's what's going on. Two different things. James Webb Space Telescope biosignature, technosignatures on some worlds that are fairly close to us, from what I understand. There's an astrophysicist on YouTube who goes by Dr. Becky, who I recently became a fan of her channel and started watching some of her videos, and she has talked about the James Webb Space Telescope stuff from a much more mainstream scientific academic perspective. So her information is extremely good and excellent videos on those. And she's done some videos on have they discovered water on some of these planets? Like what is going on? There's a couple of planets that are supposedly very Earth-like. So check out Dr. Becky's channel for more on that. So there's just this rumor that's going on right now, and then during that conversation, I remembered there was a episode of the New Thinking Aloud podcast with Jeffrey Mishlove, which I'm a huge fan of as well. And this is just one of those podcasts that if you're not familiar with it, you should check it out. Where he interviewed Robert Bigelow. And Robert Bigelow had something really interesting to say about some research that he was doing. And I'll see if I can set this up. And I'm going to try to make the connection between these two seemingly unconnected things. So let me see here. Where's my clip? Turn that one off. Okay, here we go. That's the one. All right. So I'm going to try to set this up as best I can, and then I'll explain what's going on here. So hang with me for one more second. I want to show you a few more. Here we go. All right. Bob Bigelow. Who is he? Robert Thomas Bigelow, born May 12, 1944, is an American businessman. He owns Budget Suites of America, believe it or not, and is the founder of Bigelow Aerospace, where the real money is made. Bigelow has provided financial support for investigations of UFOs and parapsychological topics, including the continuation of consciousness after death, which he actually started a competition like the X Prize to try and figure out if we could get proof and confirmation of the continuation of consciousness after death. And I believe it was actually Jeffrey Mishlove who won that competition. Let's check that real quick and see if that. No, this isn't the right thing. But this is something that he was working on. And in the next interview that I'm going to show you, he talks about that a little bit. So he made his billions in the real estate business and the hotel business. And then he created the National Institute for Discovery Science to fund the research and study of various fringe sciences, and paranormal topics, most notably ufology. The organization researched cattle mutilation and Black Triangle reports, ultimately attributing the latter to secretive advanced aircraft operated by the military. The institute was disbanded in 2004. He owned Skinwalker Ranch for a time. He has been written about in the New York Times. He's been written about all over the place. He's very well known in the UFO UAP community. Here it is. In June 2020, Bigelow founded the Bigelow Institute for Consciousness Studies, BICS. Remember that acronym, to support investigations into life after death. In January 2021, forget Elon Musk. Like, Robert Bigelow is doing the coolest stuff. Like, he's way more interesting than Elon, as far as I'm concerned. If we're picking billionaires here, I just think he's just a badass. In January 2021, the Institute put up an award of $1 million asking for essays arguing for existence of a life after death. The Institute awarded the first place $500,000 prize to Jeffrey Mishlove. There it is. And the second prize to Pim van Lommel. And the third prize to Leo Rookby? I hope I'm saying that right. Probably not. So Jeffrey Mishlove wins this competition. Now, we're going to look at this interview with Jeff Mishlove right here. Now, this is it. This is New Thinking Aloud with Jeffrey Mishlove. This is the podcast page or the YouTube channel. Oh, come on. Where's my other screen? I don't have enough monitor space. Okay. If you don't already subscribe to this, go there, subscribe. His interviews are amazing, and he talks to some of the coolest people. Like, he really does just interview the coolest people. Theories of Everything and New Thinking Aloud are like must-watch YouTube. But just amazing parapsychological studies, and he overlaps a lot with the UFO UAP community, and just all around great interviewer. Now, watch this clip with Bob Bigelow, because in this clip, what Bigelow is going to be talking about is he works with remote viewers. He hires and he contracts remote viewers to do research for him. And remote viewing is a way of accessing information that is non-local. So a remote viewer is a person who it's kind of it's like astral projection. You project your consciousness, you send your consciousness, although some people would argue with that terminology. But you can sit comfortably in a chair, you can stand up, you can do it wherever, but your consciousness goes to some other place and is able to access information about that place or that event or that time, or some combination of those things. Now, here's what's interesting about remote viewing. The really, really great, like Michael Jordan of remote viewing, it's probably Ingo Swan is the one that jumps to mind. Joe McMonagle's another one. Daz Smith is another one. There's some really, really excellent remote viewers. It was looked at very seriously by the Soviet Union and the United States during the 80s and 90s. Supposedly, official funding for this was discontinued, although I don't think anybody really believes that. Lou has even said that he was trained in remote viewing and that the program continues on to this day. And you can hire remote viewers. It's not like top secret stuff. You can go hire these people. And so Bigelow occasionally does to look into things. And what you're about to see is him describing what he found out with the team that he brought together to look at the next few years. Now, this interview was recorded in 2023, August 20th, 2023. So just about a year ago. Listen to what he says about the near future. Here we go.
To raise hell, technologically.
More than ever before in human history.
Yes. So where does that, what's the end game? Where does that lead? Because we have free will. And by the way, this as an incarnate, and the discarnate also has free will. Discarnate spirits can make choices as to the environment and what they want to be in and how they want to think, and spirits of a feather flock together and all that. So we make all those same choices here, and for better or worse. And so that free will can really get us into trouble. Being the nature of humans that we are and our gender, the male will be the cause, I predict, because of the odds. Since I'm from Las Vegas, I believe in that there's some value in odds, and I think that, you know, if there is a time where our technology really, really gets us in a horrible situation.
There's certainly plenty of very serious thinkers who say that the human race is heading right towards extinction.
We have a current program that was a successor to the contest. And I thought, well, I'm going to jump us a little bit, because we started, you know, at ground zero, at the foundation with the contest. And so I did it not because of my belief system, because I already have a belief system, but I did it to see what kind of proof and evidence would be acquired. And so the challenge is of a different order of magnitude. The challenge is an effort to involve an acquisition of information from the other side that proves or disproves what information Bix already has from multiple kinds of sources as to the disposition of the human race in time coming. It's a pessimistic view that we have relative to the data that are telling us what we see. I'm hoping we're wrong, and but I'm hoping that the data are substantial in the way that we're trying to acquire it to tell us we're wrong, because we're going to do devil's advocacy on the data that's coming from the sources that we are out there trying to gather.
If I understand what you're saying, it's basically like the data that is coming into you from multiple sources leads you to have a pessimistic outlook on the future of humanity. And you're looking for some way that we might be able to change that apparent destiny.
I don't think that's an achievable goal for me. I think I'm an explorer. researcher. And I think that problem is gigantic. It's huge.
Because it's coming at us from many angles.
Yeah, it's probably already written on the wind one way or another, and it's going to happen. And there's little or nothing we can do about it. Part of that is a function of nobody's going to listen anyway, you know, and so who are we talking to, right? So we'll know, maybe we'll have more information than the average person on the street is going to have, right? And maybe that will give us some ability to have some comfort in our thought process of thinking about not just our container has a clock ticking, but from normal biological disintegration or whatever, or an accident or something coming along, but from a standpoint that things are really going to be bad. And how do you prepare yourself for that and those that you love and care for, or friends? How do you prepare for any of that, right? So that's probably the best that we can do.
Well, you're talking about something, a huge topic most people can't begin to wrap their minds around, the potential extinction of our species. That's something very few people want to address at all, but I imagine if we're looking at this from the very large picture, the picture that would tell us there are billions of planets in the universe, much like the Earth, that could sustain life. Of those planets are probably millions of civilizations of conscious sentient beings like human beings. And I'm going to say the probability is offhand, maybe 50% of them are going to go extinct and another 50% of them might survive. And it would be interesting to learn what were the differences there and what are the possibilities for survival of sentient species. I know some astronomers think, for example, because they haven't been able to detect radio signals from other planets to prove that there's intelligent life out there, they're suggesting that once a species becomes sentient and intelligent enough to build radios, then their lifespan after that's going to be very short. They'll go extinct, and that's why we don't hear any of their radio signals.
Yeah, there are different kinds of views on that, and it could be that there's a screen that's established so that, you know, if we are so threatening to ourselves, and that's the Klingon thing that we could be. We're threatening to any other living body, right? That we happen to trip over on some other planet. So it's really not just handy; it's super wonderful. We have the distances that we do between solar systems, 4 light years to our nearest one. So those spatial dimensions are protective. But so there could be a screen, there could be an annihilation. It could be that those signals cannot propagate forever, because, and my philosophy on the universe is different than the usual cosmologist or physicist. And I think I can back my view up, where I don't get into. I can't back up string theory. If I'm trying to prosecute that to a court, I can't. It's too manufactured. I can't do it. It's too illegitimate. I can't possibly do it. So, but I can. I can support a whole different kind of theory that's much more elegant and very simple by comparison. But so I think that, and I respect SETI effort, because you have to try. I was approached one time to supply funding for that, and I turned it down. And I respect Paul Allen for helping and the.
All right, you get the idea. But so there you have it. Bob Bigelow telling you that he has people looking into this, and their research involves acquiring information from the other side, as he put it, to confirm what may happen in the next few years, and that their prognosis is grim. That's interesting. Now, if it were just Lou saying, that's not my conversation to have, and not just saying straight up, no, there's no event coming that I'm aware of, that was one thing. Then you have this a year before this, before Lou says that, Bob Bigelow's on Mishlove talking about a remote view, basically a remote viewing experiment. And I've heard remote viewers talk about trying to remote view things in the near future, maybe a decade, 15 years out, and having trouble. There's some kind of a barrier that they can't penetrate. They can't see beyond. Now, I am not a remote viewer, and I don't have any expertise in that, but this is just something that I have heard. So if someone knows more about it than I do, I am ready to talk to them. And I've tried to get Daz Smith back on the show to ask him about this. I've reached out to him a couple times, but I haven't heard back yet. So still trying to get Daz to come back. But then there was this other clip with Leslie Kean. Kean? Grush? Potato? We'll come back to that in a second. So check this out. Here's Leslie on Theories of Everything, Kurt Jamungel's amazing podcast, which is like in the top probably 3 that you should be subscribed to. Listen to what Leslie has to say about the next couple of years. Now, this interview was also, I think, 2023 or 2022. If somebody can look up that, it was. In fact, let me do this real quick. I can tell you. Evidence of an afterlife. I think this was 7 months ago. Is that right? Or was this just re-uploaded 7 months ago? Maybe it was just about 7 months ago. Yeah, it was about 7 months ago. All right, watch this. This is the next clip. It was at 20.
So basically, we're not at
208. All right. Are you ready for this to just get weird? Here we go. Let's get weird.
It'd be just a few years away.
Listen to this.
Okay, I'm going to hold you to that. Within a decade.
Okay. Oh, definitely. Yeah, it better happen before that. I don't think we're going to be in any shape in a decade to be doing very much of anything. So I'm not hopeful for the future direction that we're moving in it.
And the future direction, climate-wise, AI-wise?
Climate-wise and geopolitical-wise, the whole thing I think is going to kind of come. I think things are going to be pretty difficult starting in a few years. And from what I've been told by sources.
What does that mean? It's going to be difficult?
I can't say specifically. I don't know that much yet, and I can't really say, but just that a lot of what we take for granted now in life, I don't think is going to be, we're not going to have it. A lot of things we have now that makes our lives as wonderful as they are.
What?
Like electricity?
I don't know. Just the access to all the things we have access to now that are dependent on the globalization, basically, which just aren't sustainable. A lot of the things we have aren't sustainable. The populations are growing, and I think the climate issues are major as well. I mean, that's just my opinion, but I have studied quite a bit about the climate change problem, and I take it really seriously.
Is there something about the geopolitical situation? Because you just referenced population and climate change.
It's not that simple. I just don't feel qualified to talk about it, but I just don't think things as they are now are sustainable, and I'm not qualified to really talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What is going on? Guys, am I the only one here who's picking up on this? Are you guys seeing all this stuff? Look around. John Ramirez saying, if they just show up in 2027 or 2030, Carl Nell's slide at the Soul Foundation, disclosure must happen before X date. I think it was 2030, or it's going to be catastrophic, right? You have Matthew Pines going on the podcast circuit saying that in coming months, new information is going to be coming out. Things are going to be picking up steam. You're going to be seeing more of this. This conversation is going to get more intense. Lou Elizondo, is there an event? Is something coming? Not my conversation to have. Leslie Kean, how do you feel about the next few years? I don't think about the next few years. I'm not very optimistic. We may not have the things that we take for granted today in a few years' time. What is going on? There is something weird here, guys. I don't believe, you could call me a conspiracy theorist, whatever, but I just don't believe all this stuff is happening in a vacuum. I feel like there is something going on behind the scenes that a few people have some inside knowledge on, and there is movement around this topic, whatever it may be. I want it to be somehow involved with UFOs and UAPs. I think it is. It seems like it is. That seems to be what everybody's saying, more or less. But that's the problem. They walk it back. Everybody kind of comes out, they say something. And then when they're pushed on it, it's like, well, I can't really go there. I can't really talk about it. Okay. So we are left to speculate. And that's why I'm going to continue speculating. I have no information to go on other than the little bit that we are getting. I think that's what Pavel was trying to get at. And by the way, I talked to Pavel. He's going to come on. We're going to do another show. We're going to talk about what he's looking into right now directly. So I'm going to get it straight from him, and there won't be any of me trying to interpret it that way. But I think that's kind of what he was getting at, is like that all hands on deck. Those were his words. People are being briefed about it. Could there be an object on its way here? Could it be a ship? Cole Watkins suggested yesterday that he said maybe it's something that's on its way here that our best instruments can see now or have detected, and in a few years' time, it will become visible to regular astronomers who are using more standard gear. I don't know if this is how this would be described more accurately, but it'll become visible to other people, and then it'll get close enough where it's obvious, and then it's just not. There's nothing we can do at that point. By the way, Chameleon UK, thank you for the super chat. I say, look on the bright side. We are here now, so make the best of it and show love. That's another interesting point. Lou Elizondo said the same thing, almost exactly. He said, remember his somber comment? Does anybody remember this? Where he said, I think it was Kurt's podcast, Theories of Everything. He goes, if people knew what you knew, how would they feel? Kurt asking Lou about UAPs, UFOs. People knew what you knew, how would they feel? Lou's answer, somber. That's a very specific word, somber. Okay. Somber. And then he says, okay, so what do you recommend people do? And Lou says, spend time with your family. Spend time with your family, spend time with your kids, spend time with your friends. He gives that kind of an answer. Like I'm paraphrasing, but that's more or less what he said. And then he puts out a book. And what's the name of the book? Imminent. I mean, I'm reading the tea leaves, but the tea leaves kind of spell imminent. They spell like it's pretty obvious, like what we're looking at here. What do you guys think? Christopher Hovord gifted another 10 memberships. Chris, you're killing me. This is unbelievable. That's like you've given out your 300,000th membership. Thank you. AK Shadow 89 Master. Impact equals sun blocked out for years plus EMP equals no tech. Possibly. Maybe. We're also at a geopolitical tinderbox right now. I mean, look at what's going on everywhere in the world. It's you have the compounding effects of climate change making organized global civilization difficult to maintain, more costly to maintain. By the way, I think it's worth mentioning, and it's something that I don't think enough people in this space are talking about, but I'm going to talk about it. And if this turns you off, I'm sorry. But the climate change thing, not only is it real, it's really fucking real. And That's one of the other biggest conspiracy theories. You've been duped into, most people have been duped into thinking it's not as big of a problem as it actually is. It's actually a much bigger problem than they've been letting on. And that's really the issue. In fact, it's such a big problem. There's an effect. There's a thing called, what's it, the atmospheric masking effect. Believe it or not, the maximum temperature, the global average temperature, was supposed to be below 1.5 degrees C. That was our commitment, was to hold it below 1.5 degrees C. We blew past 1.5 degrees this year. That's over. We're on our way to 2C. At 3C or 4C, civilization can't really function the way that we're used to anymore because of just the disruptions to crop yields and food supply, instability all over the world, causing military conflict, all these other compounding effects. Now you have that situation, by the way, and that's never going to get better. The only way that gets better is if we pull carbon out of the air. This is my soapbox moment, so just give me 5 minutes on this, and then I'll move on to the next thing. We have to pull the carbon that's in the atmosphere out of the atmosphere. We've wrapped the planet in a 22 trillion ton blanket of carbon dioxide, and we have to take that blanket away. We have no technology to do this. This does not exist. I don't care what they tell you. It doesn't exist. It's not real. To do it, we're going to need, at scale, we're going to need limitless energy. So it means cracking some kind of a new energy source that we don't currently have. So fusion is the best case scenario we have for that. And we're at least 10, 15, 25 years away from that. Who knows? So that's going to continue to get worse. You have the AI issue, which is coming up in our blind spot. And I don't think any of our politicians are ready to deal with that. But that's going to be a way bigger issue than people realize, sooner than people realize. That's coming. You have this UFO thing. And on top of all of it, we're all pointing our nuclear weapons at each other, and all of them are ready to go on an automated launch system. Who knows what the Russian nuclear arsenal even looks like anymore? I mean, good Lord. What is their nuclear art? Like, you see what their conventional forces look like. It's awful. Like, how much money do they have to upkeep their nuclear arsenal? And is it in good shape? Is it in good working order? For that matter, is ours? I don't know. How many nuclear warheads do we have? How many silos do we have? How many? It's just too much nuclear weaponry on this planet. We need to completely disarm all of this. This all has to go. So if you're an ET or an NHI and you're looking at our technological growth and development over the last century, and you're realizing that nuclear weapons are bad enough, but you add nuclear weapons, a violent society, a civilization of warmongering maniacs, take them with nuclear weapons and give them power give them artificial superintelligence. That's a disaster. What happens when we take all this shit and all our baggage and bullshit into the solar system and we start moving around and setting up shop on the moon, on Mars, in the asteroid belt, building our expanded civilization, assuming we don't destroy ourselves before then? If we can get to that point, we have a Mars colony in 25 years that's thriving and, or, you know, taking off and it's on its own. But if you're an NHI and you're observing humanity right now, if we're not, we're rapidly coming up on the threat list of things that you need to be concerned about. And so my issue is, at some point, it seems to me reasonable to assume that NHI will reach a decision point. That whatever this NHI is, whether it's one or many or, you know, 2 or 3 or 5 or 10, we don't really know. But they're going to have to make a decision on what they're going to do here. This can't just go on like this forever, this in perpetuity, where they just sort of show up, mess with some nuclear weapons, turn them off, turn them on again, and then leave. Like, that's leading to something. This isn't just happening because it's fun, right? There's something happening behind the scenes, and there's a beginning and a middle and an end state to this. That's my position. And so when I say we need to be concerned and we need to have our head on a swivel and we need to be paying attention and we need to be alert, I'm not trying to, and this is something I want to talk to Pavel about, because I think we have differing views on this. I think we're trying to say the same thing, but I think we're saying it in different ways. I'm not trying to fearmonger, but what I am saying is we have an extraordinarily unstable situation. And there are X factors involved that we just aren't prepared to deal with. And they're going to make an appearance. And when they do, this unstable situation is going to get more unstable. So maybe Bob Bigelow is onto something. Maybe the remote viewers who have looked at this have seen something that is worth being freaked out about. And maybe there is something happening. Maybe there is something coming. Maybe there is contact imminent. Maybe that's why there's a book by that name. Maybe Lou knows more than he's letting on. I think he does. Don't you? So that's what's going on right now. That's the conversation in the space. I don't know. I don't know where we go from here, but I'm just as captivated as all of you. Let's look at the chat. Gerald Deshara Jr., if it keeps getting hotter, then it will cause the continental crust to become more elastic, which can cause more earthquakes and bigger earthquakes. Evidence suggests, this is Brett Higgins, evidence suggests that Russia hasn't been spending on maintaining their nuclear arsenal. It's almost like they don't know what radioactive half-life is. Paris Diamond says, NHI coming to your area carrying martial law signs. The Truth Master, 1, hey man, I apologize. I didn't mean to be mean when I called you Giga Clint. I just meant you are more handsome than most podcasters. Oh, thanks. I have a weird sense of humor. Okay. It's the mustache. It's a lifestyle. Adam Durden says, you should watch the John Lear George Knapp interview from 1987. Lear said, we're dealing with at least 5, and most NHI value morals typically built don't align with ours. Well, this is what I'm trying to say is, yeah, like whatever non-human intelligence is, it's not going to be human. It's going to have different. Think about it. Everything in your life that's ever happened has happened to you, right? You live the movie of your life from inside your own head looking out, right? So I'm just some side character in the movie of your life, but you're the star, right? And as all these things are happening to you in your life, you're taking on all these experiences and all this, these things that build your character and create your personality and help you define who you are and the challenges. And that's all the internal world that you're constructing inside your own mind as you go through this process. So, the stakes involved in that life are more or less the same for all of us, right? Like we all feel pain the same way, more or less. We all have good days and bad days. You know, you all, everyone's lost somebody that they loved and knows what that feels like. It's awful. You know, you've had your heart broken. You've fallen in love if you're lucky, and you've got good friends, or you've lost good friendships, or you know, you've had accidents, you've had, you know, successes and failures. A human experience. We've all shared the same, more or less, type of human experience. An NHI is not going to have that. Let's say their lifespan is 1,000 years. They're not going to know what it's like to live to 85 and then just deteriorate. They're not going to know what that is. Like to them, it's not going to be a factor. So they're not going to factor that in. Whatever their social structure or hierarchy is, they're going to have achieved the status of apex predators on their world, wherever they're from. And so that we are going to be in the presence of this new thing that is vastly more intelligent, capable, and advanced than we are. And once we are in the presence of that thing, it doesn't matter if it's an invasion or if they're just nice or it doesn't make a difference. There's now going to be someone, a new player in the game that could manhandle us at any time. And right now, the difference between now and the day after disclosure or the day after contact is that right now, we all still think that we're in charge and everything's more or less the same as it's kind of always been vis-a-vis the human civilization on this planet, you know, thinking we're running the show and all that. When that's no longer true for us and we all kind of understand it at the same time, let's say ships show up over every major city in the world and sit there for a month. It's going to get weird. It's going to get creepy. It's going to start to feel like, okay, well, who's actually in charge here? And we will never really know past that point what kind of agency we actually have. Not really. How can you? How can you outsmart a player that is thousands of times more advanced than you? And so you know, when I'm saying like be concerned, I'm saying, well, you know, this is what do you do about it? I don't know. I don't think there is an answer to it. I think the answer is you talk about it. You try to like have the conversation now in social media the way that we're doing it on YouTube, and you try to process it. And then if that reality does happen, you don't panic, you don't freak out. You just have a foundation of understanding that you proceed from, and that gives you some kind of stability. But the worst thing to do is get completely flipped upside down and inside out over this information. I think Pavel and I are in agreement on that. What concerns me is that our global leadership is completely inadequate and not up to the task of the challenge at hand. Right now, humanity's challenge is to evolve or perish, grow up or die. That is what human society has to do. We have to evolve into a type 1. We have to advance our civilization to a type 1 civilization where we live in harmony with all life on the planet. We don't destroy it. We protect it. And we have to do this in kind of like the span of 1 or 2 human lifetimes. Maybe we don't even have that much time. We have to disarm our nuclear arsenals. We have to reverse the effects of climate change. We have enormous global jobs that we have to be all hands on deck for. And you don't see anything like the level of effort that is required coming together right now. So I'm not optimistic, but I think that the UFO UAP conversation is a way into this larger discussion about what do we want it to mean to be human? What is it? What is the what do we have that is the best of us from all the different cultures on our planet that we can be proud of and share in those similarities and those commonalities? And how can we incorporate that into a new idea of patriotism, in a sense of like being a citizen of Earth, being a modern evolved peak human? Was, you know, we should be aspiring to that. We should be figuring out what that means, trying to get there in a more organized way. You know, we can all go, you know, everybody can do your own personal one-on-one search for truth and meaning, but I think on a global scale we need to have some kind of a plan. And I feel like the UFO moments that we're having right now might be the thing that sort of shocks us out of this weirdness that we're in, where we don't really know which direction we're trying to go in, and we're just sort of letting the billionaires make all the decisions. And hopefully it'll get us all back on one page, on the same page. And so we can start having more important substantive discussions about what we should be doing as a society, and how do we preserve life? How do we do all these other things that we want to do? Oh, Pat Berlin-Kett, thank you for the super chat. If I have just a few years left before it hits the fan, I'm going to spread some kindness and not watch Fire in the Sky. Thanks, Pat. Yeah, don't watch Fire in the Sky. Don't watch Fire in the Sky. That one. Yeah, when they get him on the ship and they put that latex blanket on his face, and then they cut it open and he's screaming. God. D.B. Sweeney. Telling you, man, the early mid 90s, Fire in the Sky, X-Files. Whew, what a time. Thank you, Pat. That was great. Susan Mackey is a member. Thank you. Welcome aboard, Susan. Great to have you. All right. Let's see. Who else in the chat? What else? Let Pavel hop on the stream. Is Pavel, are you here? Are you in the chat? I'm so sorry. Oh, Psychoactival Podcast is here. Matt Ford broke the news about the UAPDA. The energy that we use keeps increasing. Breaking news. The UAPDA the UAP Disclosure Amendment did not get put into the manager's package, per Matt Ford. Hal Puthoff said the ZPE 0-point energy in a mug could blow the planet up. Unless they knew that for sure, then why would he say it? Well, by the way, Hal Puthoff has another company. He has, I think, many companies, but one of the companies he has is producing a reactor, an alternative type of fusion, I believe. I think it's a plasma fusion. What am I saying? It's called the Sapphire reactor. Look up Hal Puthoff Sapphire reactor and go. You will find the Canadian company that he is a member of that is building some kind of. God, man, it is so far beyond me. I can't even describe it. But Sapphire reactor, Hal Puthoff. Search it. You'll see where that rabbit hole takes you. Christian Morales Ask Pavel to show you the message that I sent him from someone in Congress after Lou briefed him. Put a diaper on. Pavel, are you getting this? Show you the message that Christian Morales sent you from someone in Congress after Lou briefed him. Put a diaper on. Catastrophic disclosure it is. Soul reactor. This is what Ashton Forbes talks about. Look, I just remember when COVID-19 happened. Look how apeshit people went over toilet paper, right? Like there were people. By the way, and for our European friends, if you haven't spent much time in the United States, everybody here is armed all the fucking time. Like everybody here is armed all the time. All the time. Everybody's got a gun. It's crazy. And people are on edge. And when a crisis happens, they lose it. They fucking lose it. And when COVID happened, I swear to God, I thought people were going to get shot over toilet paper at Target. Like it was that bad. People lose their shit over the dumbest thing. And I'm present company obviously is, included in the know. You're here, so we're having our separate discussion. But the next time you're just out, next time you just go out anywhere, look around. Like look to your left, look to your right. Go to Chili's, sit down, order yourself a Bud Light. Look to your left, look to your right, and realize that most of the people that are around are kind of just zoned out, man. Like they're not tuned into what's going on at all. And when some big shit happens, these people are going to freak. They're going to freak. I'm not optimistic about how human beings are going to handle all this stuff in the short term. In the long term, I think we'll be okay. But the short term, not at all. Robbie Young, welcome aboard. You're a member now. Thank you. Thank you. Good to have you. Welcome. Stock at Chameleon UK. How many times I've told people to stock up on toilet paper? Get a bidet. Get a bidet. I'm telling you, bidet. Bidet, mate. If you got... My son's about to turn 3. We talk about poop a lot in my house. We got a lot of... My life is probably about 20, 30% of my life is just poo management. Between 2 dogs and a little kid, managing poo, getting it from the from the diaper to the from the floor to the thing, or from, whatever. And God, where am I going with this? I lost my thread. If you got poo on any other part of your body, you would wash it in the sink with soap for 10 minutes. You would sit, like if you get poo on your arm, you go into the bathroom with, you get a brush. I get bleach. I'm like bleaching it. Get a bidet. Let's clean it up around here, people. AG says, Clint, off this possibly dismal subject, I believe you would enjoy fulfilling your nostalgic funny bone by having an interview with your favorite Star Trek personality. I would love to. My goal is to be on Star Trek. I got to get on Star Trek. Somebody out there, I'll put you in touch with my agent. If anybody can hook it up, let me know. Truth Master, welcome to I Want to Believe. Welcome, Truth Master. The Truth Master is in the house. All right, so let's wrap it up here. I'm going to talk about Stephen Greer. Let's talk about Stephen Greer, and let me just show you what I saw, and you guys make the call. Did Stephen Greer bullshit the entire UAP UFO community? Like, what is going on with this man, and why is there such a rift between the Stephen Greer people and the Lou Elizondo people, and what is the deal here? Well, apparently the deal is that, let me back up. When I first really got serious about UFOs and UAPs, it was because of Stephen Greer. That was my way in. Stephen Greer did the National Press Club briefing and the disclosure press conference, and he brought out all these whistleblowers. And this is back in the early 2000s, before YouTube was a thing. Like, YouTube wasn't a thing until like 2006 or 2007. It's like 2006, 2007. I'm talking 2001, 2002, early days. Stephen Greer was one of the first people to go out and record dozens of interviews with whistleblowers. And these interviews are astonishing. If you go to Steve's page, if you go to the Disclosure Project YouTube page and you look at some of his videos, go organize them by date and go backwards. Go look at the oldest videos first and go back like 15 years ago. Look at all these old videos and look at it's a gold mine of whistleblowers. You think David Grush is fascinating. You think Lou Elizondo's got something to say. Go look at the 25 whistleblowers on Stephen Greer's site. And I'm telling you, like, there's some crazy information there. So understand that what I'm about to show you and what I'm about to say, I'm coming at this kind of conflicted about it because for many, many years looked at Stephen Greer as the guy who was pushing disclosure and doing the hard work to make it a reality and make it happen. And then a few years ago, like 2-3 years ago, it was started to circulate like, hey man, he's been charging people something like $4,000 or $5,000 to go on these CE5 retreats, and then he got caught dropping flares out of a plane to convince people that there was a UAP or UAPs in the area when there weren't. And at first I was like, I don't know, man, that just sounds like a hit piece. That sounds like something you would say if you wanted to silence somebody, right? Like if you really wanted to shut somebody up, you would just put that story out there. And you would let people believe it or not, but you would introduce doubt, and that's all you really need to do. And then it's like, well, you can always point to that. So for a long time, I thought, well, that's what this is. They're trying to shut Stephen Greer up. They want to make it look like he's scamming people, so he's not taken seriously. And I put it out to the audience. I said, can anybody send me a link to whatever this is, this clip or this article? And they did, and I have it, and I'm going to show it to you now. So let's take a look and see what this is all about. What is this? Ugh. Ads. The Washington Examiner, which is a conservative-leaning publication with a questionable history of weird stories, but at this point, all news sources are like that, so you could say that about everything. This article is by Tom Rogan. No relation to Joe, as far as I know. Tom Rogan is an online editor and foreign policy writer for the Washington Examiner. He writes frequently on social security and intelligence issues involving Russia, China, and the Middle East. He holds a Bachelor of Arts in War Studies from King's College London, a Master of Science in Middle East Politics from SOAS, and a graduate diploma in law from the University of Law London. Among others, he has previously written for the Wall Street Journal, Washington Post, Reuters, The Independent, The Atlantic, National Review, The Telegraph, and The Guardian. Tell me you work for the CIA without saying you work for the CIA. So that's Tom Rogan. That's the article. Here's the article right here. It says, did Stephen Greer fake a UFO with flares? Let me see. Can I go to reader view here? Let's do this. Did Dr. Stephen Greer, I'm just going to read you the article for those people who aren't looking at the screen. Dr. Stephen Greer likes to suggest that he is in regular contact with extraterrestrials who are visiting Earth. Kindly, if for a price, Greer offers to train others in his close encounters of the fifth kind contact protocols. But is Greer really in contact with unidentified flying objects, or what the military refers to as unidentified aerial phenomena? Well, like the U.S. military, I'm very confident that some UFOs are true unknowns not belonging to China, the United States, or Russia. That said, I'm not convinced these objects are what Greer is seeing or communicating with. A January 27th, 2015 Greer contact event in Florida offers a case in point. That date saw Greer leading an expedition at Vero Beach on, you know what I should do? Let's do this. Can I do that? Here we go. All right. That date saw Greer leading an expedition at Vero Beach on Florida's East Coast. Greer's website says that his week-long expeditions come with a tuition fee of $2,500 to $3,500, depending on facility costs. The website explains that all of the ambassadors to the universe trainings are similar. All participants are expected to complete and return liability release, confidentiality agreement, and ambassador agreement which will be sent after they have paid and registered. This is text from Stephen Greer's website. Video of the sighting was posted to Greer's YouTube channel, and the incident was the first case listed on the photographic and video evidence of Greer's website, page of Greer's website. The video introduction says the event, air quotes on event, occurred between 9:10 and 9:15 p.m. and was a result of an invitation initiated by the members using coherent thought and meditation practices, also known as CE5 protocols. TN. The video description states there were no boats or ships seen anywhere in the area of the objects, and there were no jets or planes or other airborne objects anywhere near the objects before, during, or after the event. This is important information, so that's why I'm telling you. The next line is, that's not true, but let's not jump the gun. Well, he goes on to describe the video. I'm just going to show you the video, so we won't go read all this stuff. But basically, according to flight-aware tracking data obtained by the Washington Examiner, there is a flight N110SU that was in that area where this sighting happened at 9:11 p.m. Remember, the sighting happened between 9:10 and 9:15, so approximately 5 minutes long. This airplane was located in that area, according to radar data, at 9:11 p.m. on January 27th, 2015. A Beech 76 Duchess registered N110SU was recorded flying 85 miles per hour off of Vero Beach. This is slower than the aircraft's normal cruising speed and would feasibly allow the aircrew to deploy parachute flares or some other illumination device. You just throw it out the window. It's not a big deal. The aircraft took off and returned to the airport in Fort Pierce. The screenshot below shows the aircraft's location at the time of the event. So that's this screenshot here. Now, let's watch this video, and then we can come back to this. Where is it? Blah, blah, blah. He just linked to it. The video of the sighting. Here we go. Oh, did they take it down? Hold up. Let me see if I can pull this link up. This was just up the other day. This was up like 2 days ago. Let me see. Who sent me this? This was... They took it down. No way. Oh no, here it is. Here it is. I'm so full of shit. All right, here we go. Sorry, gang. I got ahead of myself. This is just an old link. All right. So you're going to hear Dr. Greer. This is the video of the event. I'm just going to show it to you.
So what I'd like to discuss now is an overview of the consciousness, the science of consciousness, specifically as it applies to...
I'm going to open this on YouTube and we can watch it a little bigger.
So
here we go.
What I'd like to discuss now is an overview of the consciousness, the science of consciousness, specifically as it applies to training in meditation and the phases of development for remote viewing and doing the coherent thought sequencing, so that you have a very clear understanding of it.
Before we do the puja, what is that orange object? Look how beautiful!
Whoa!
Oh my God!
Whoa! Just don't pop too much,
please. Crouch down and look, because you'll block our cameras.
Wow!
Those behind me may move and stand up, because. Okay, that you see that color?
Yeah. That's not a plane.
No. Oh no.
That's not a boat.
I'm putting this link in the chat.
No, that's a
so
ship.
Let's thank them for coming.
Wow, and it's above the sea level.
Please turn off your night scope, Charles. Off.
Come on, Charles. Turn it off. Only I can use the night scope.
Someone's
no one else.
infrared or whatever.
Yeah, that's Charles.
Oh. Oh, whoa.
Oh, here they come. There are two.
Whoever's right in the front, if you can kind of just stay low, because your
Stay low.
head is right.
You can get on your knees in front
Yeah.
of Richie. Look at this, how gorgeous.
Oh my goodness.
Okay, so I'm looking with the night scopes. There's no smoke, there's no trails. These are not flares.
Oh, really?
And
Oh my
okay,
goodness.
let's welcome them here.
Oh, they're so beautiful.
They were waiting for us to arrive.
Whoa.
Jacques, please photograph. Yeah. All cameras should be filming. So connect to them in your consciousness and invite them here. These are the golden ones I talked about. See how gold? Yeah. Because the horizon is only 7 to 10 miles depending on the conditions. So it's probably a couple miles. Everybody see them?
Yeah, they're so beautiful.
Let's welcome
So
their
beautiful.
beings on board to join us in meditation.
Are you fucking kidding me with this shit?
That is such a beautiful color, so you'll never forget that color. Yeah, this is a major event. So we are grateful. So open your heart chakra and send them the beauty of humanity. And if you can see what I'm doing, you connect with your palms out like this, and your third eye and your heart.
And then take the money,
making like
put
a
it in my palm.
tetrahedron radiating our pureness.
That'll be
$3,500.
$3,500.
They emerge from the sky, but they're very, very close to the ocean.
Get ready for it.
They're just hovering. They're not.
No, they're not.
Whoever's just right in front of the yellow kind of blue jacket, your head's. No, yeah, you just kind of went to go down. Okay, you know what? I'm gonna move.
We should be filming.
I am filming, but just trying to avoid.
Those in front, if you can get on your knees or sit on the ground and look in
Attention.
front of your chairs, but stay low. Thank you.
Just gonna reposition.
You need a higher tripod.
No, I can bring it high. I just don't want it.
Well, don't wait, or you're going to lose it. Just
Yeah.
stay.
Yeah,
Just
yeah,
keep
yeah.
with it. There's not time for that. Okay, that's clear air. It just sort of vanished, the one on the right.
I would be
They
so
stayed pretty much the same
pissed off.
altitude, though.
Wow.
If I paid $3,500
Let's
and
invite
I
them to
went
come
out
as
and
close as
this
they
is the
can.
shit that I saw, I would
Safely.
lose my mind.
I need a time mark. Cam, time?
9:15.
9:15. So the mark time.
9:15.
Oh, that's gone into the ocean. See what it did?
Yeah, because it's a flare. You dropped it out of
Okay.
the plane. That's what went into the ocean. Good Lord, people. Come on. Use your head, people. Look at this. This is what I'm talking about. All right. I'm going to play this back at double speed, and I'm going to turn Greer off, and let's just play it back. And we're going to talk about this. Okay. Here's the first one. By the way, all right, so you'll see it. What is that beautiful orange thing? Okay, now imagine a little aircraft. What did he say it was? A beach. What did he call it? A Beach 76 Duchess. All right, so it drops the first one. And now the plane is flying, cruising. It's right about there. Oh, and they threw another one out the window. I wonder, can we get the altitude from that day and time of this aircraft? There must be a way we can get the altitude. Does it say? 85 miles per hour. So those are probably at 85 miles per hour. What's the time difference between those two flares? You can figure out the distance. Guys, I'm sorry, but those are flares. He took the money before they arrived. Brett Higgins. Phone cameras are very different from dedicated camera. That's true. I shoot on a Sony A7R2. A7R3, actually. Bledsoe pulling the same. No, Bledsoe's different. I don't think Bledsoe's doing the same thing here. We'll talk about that in a second. Ian Riley, isn't Bledsoe pulling the same thing? By the way, can I just tell you, listen, if you gave somebody $3,000 and at the end of it, you just found yourself sitting on a public beach looking at the horizon, I would pull Dr. Greer aside. I would stand up from that group. I'd be like, dude, you have some explaining to do. Like, what the fuck is this? This is some bullshit. $3,500 and I get to march myself out to the beach that I could have gone to anyway. It's probably across the street from the hotel. And we're just going to sit there and then we're going to watch these two orange lights that you're going to tell me aren't flares when they're very obviously flares. This is Scientology level bullshit. That's what this is. This is like the Raelian cult thing. Those guys, that's what this is. And I have to say, I'm sad. That's sad. If this is the best you can do, bro, get the fuck out of here. Stephen Greer. Come on, man. Get out of here. Now, if Stephen Greer wants to come on Night Shift and talk to me and explain to me why that's not bullshit, I am happy to have him and I will have that conversation. And if he can prove me wrong, I will eat this coffee mug live on YouTube. But I don't think that's going to happen. So we're small potatoes over here. Bledsoe is doing something different. Bledsoe is, I know, Christopher Hover, but it's so pretty. I'd like to punch my engine. Has anyone who witnessed UAP close-up felt electrostatic air in the well? Okay, so this is, look, the thing about the Greer thing is this is what Lou is always talking about, right? He's talking about the 5 observables, right? These things aren't moving. They're not moving at erratic speeds. They're not making, stopping on a dime, taking off in weird directions, not making right-angle turns. They're not operating under any kind. They're just lights floating down into the water, and then they go off. What I'm getting at is if we could figure out what the altitude of this aircraft is, you'd know where those flares were dropped from. You can go back and look at the weather data for that day. You'd be able to basically estimate the time that it would take to drop a flare from the air to land in the ocean, and you could probably calculate that out to within 5 seconds of when those things actually shut off. If you really wanted to go if you weren't already like totally convinced by this. Now, Chris Bledsoe, on the other hand, when he posts videos to his Instagram or when he puts videos online, his videos are very weird and compelling. Like orbs are not the same thing as flares. Orbs are different. Orbs are, when you see an orb, you know you're seeing an orb. There's just something about an orb that is unusually, it's just weird. They move and they don't blink. They don't, sometimes they'll come on and then they'll move and then they'll turn off, but they're not like, it's not an airplane. It's not they just behave differently. And you can see this in Chris Bledsoe's videos. It's almost like a firefly, but it's like 100 times brighter than a firefly. It's 150 feet up in the air and they'll just like dance along and move around and follow you. And you can just see it's not a flare. I have questions about Chris Bledsoe. I have doubts about that story, not because I don't think Chris is being honest, but I have questions about the story because things about it don't make sense to me. For instance, there is and I'm just going to sidebar this. In Chris Bledsoe's account of the things that happened to him, one of the things that he describes is an encounter with a being that he called the Lady. There's a painting that was done by someone of this woman. If you type in Chris Bledsoe into Google, you can do a Google search, and or someone can do this and put it in the chat if you can link to it, and type in Chris Bledsoe in quotes and then the Lady in quotes and look at what comes up. And you will see a painting of a woman, a blonde woman in a white robe, floating above the ground, glowing with light coming off of her, like in the Ghostbusters the librarian. She's floating, and she gives Chris Bledsoe an object. This is the thing. She hands him an object. He describes this, a physical object. He's holding it in his hands. He said it's spiky and it's moving and it's weird, and he freaks out and he puts it down, and then he never talks about it again, ever. It never comes up. No one ever asks him where it went, what happened to it, where is this thing? You had some physical evidence in your hand, and then you just dropped it and it disappeared, and we never hear about it again. That's a question I have about Chris Bledsoe. I want to know what's going on with that thing. And he also describes in that same encounter being trampled by what appears to be a holographic, I shit you not, a holographic bull, a gigantic, like I'm talking, the last unicorn. Remember the last unicorn at the very end where they're at the castle and what is the King Haggard is like, I chased the unicorns into the sea, and he's got the red bull. Remember the red bull, and he's chasing the unicorn. Maybe you don't remember, but I remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers. A bull like that runs over Chris Bledsoe, and he is like unharmed, but he's startled and completely shocked out of his mind. And this is a vision that he's having, this experience. He describes it in a way that appears to be very real as the room I'm sitting in, and as real as any of you. But in my understanding of the story, it reads to me like some kind of a projection, a consciousness projection, or a holographic projection into his mind. There's something about it that just doesn't lock in for me, and maybe I just haven't heard the full context in the way that I need to. But I have questions there. Oh, Brett found the lady. Dude, I'm telling you, there's something really weird about this. So what my current hypothesis about the lady is that some of these craft appear to have the ability to interface directly with our consciousness. There was a slide that was leaked years ago called Slide 9. Was it A-Tip Slide 9? Brett, can you look this up? A-Tip Slide 9, I think it was. Here it is. I got it. All right, let's go down the rabbit hole. The forbidden hole. Oh, for crying out loud. Some of these okay, fine. I'll accept the cookies. All right, I'm on a list. Here we go. DoD threat scenario, ATIP, slide 9. The science exists for an enemy of the United States to manipulate both physical and cognitive environments. That's your brain, that's inside your mind, that's your perception. In order to penetrate U.S. facilities, influence decision makers, and compromise national security. This was a leaked slide. It's called slide 9, ATIP slide 9. Item number 1, psychotronic weapons. Psychotronic weapons. Think Havana syndrome. Cognitive human interface, CHI, projecting things into your mind. Think telepathic projection or some form of thought control. Penetration of solid surfaces, instantaneous sensor disassembly, alteration and manipulation of biological organisms, anomalies in the space-time construct, unique cognitive human interface experiences. Unique cognitive human interface experiences. The lady is a unique cognitive interface experience. Preliminary evidence indicates that the United States is incapable of defending itself towards some of these technologies. Several unconventional findings require further investigation in order to determine the full scope of the threat and their capabilities to be either exploited or defeated. The nature of these technologies and the fact that the United States has no countermeasures is considered highly sensitive. So, of course, it's in the Sunday world. They print all this stuff. They always put it in tabloids so that no one takes it seriously. But you get the idea. So with Chris Bledsoe, I think something like that was going on with Chris. That's just my hunch, but I don't know. Because suddenly he was descended upon by all the CIA intelligence guys, all the researchers. Everybody in the world wanted to know what was going on with Chris Bledsoe, and he had some really interesting experiences that were extremely novel and unique. And that description of the lady just it sounds too on the nose. It's too religious. The iconography is too on point, and it just seems like if you were going to manipulate humans and you wanted to play back something that we would read in a religious context, you could record an experience like a virtual reality experience, and you could project it into someone's mind, and you could give them the impression that they were having a religious moment in that experience, and then they could go on to spread whatever news or message you want. Carla Turner talked about this in her work in the mid 90s. She did a MUFON presentation. She wrote a couple of books, one called what was the name of the one about her abductions? I can't remember the name of her book. They're hard to find now, but she talked about how a lot of people who report contact with NHI talk about how they've been told things that don't come true, or they turn out to be wrong information or misinformation. They've been manipulated, made to see things that weren't there, made to believe things that didn't happen. They just play with your mind in ways that we don't fully understand, and that people can never really clearly, truly decipher. And I encourage you, go look at Carla Turner's MUFON presentation. And by the way, this is just a public service announcement. If you are searching for cool YouTube videos on ufology, the best way to do that is not to go on YouTube and type it in the search box, and don't go on Google. You need to go to DuckDuckGo, and you need to search there for whatever the video is you want to find, and then click on the video link and look at what videos come up. DuckDuckGo bypasses the Google whatever they use to restrict Google searches. DuckDuckGo is able to kind of skip around that, and you can find these older videos that are very difficult to find otherwise. Let's check the chat here. Men in Black for slide 9. Interacting directly with consciousness is why the remote viewers can't see past a specific time in the future. Okay, well, Gerald Deshara, interacting directly with consciousness is why remote viewers can't see past a specific time in the future. So it gets weirder, right? So it gets weirder. It keeps getting weirder. The remote, I'm telling you, remote viewing is sort of like I think it's at the, if it's not at the center of this whole thing, it's right next to the center. It's very close, because here you have Bob Bigelow using remote viewers to get access to information that he can't get any other way. Now, think about it. What a remote viewer does is they go into something like a trance type state. Not every remote viewer does it the same way. Each one is unique. They're like individual Jedi masters. They have their own way that they do it. But when they do it, there is a training methodology. There are techniques to this. This has been invested in heavily. Millions and millions and millions of dollars have been spent on this to develop remote viewing as an actual legitimate intelligence gathering technique. This is not made up. This is not bullshit. This is real. It's real. And these remote viewers can go out and get information, and they bring it back. How do they do that? Well, they send their consciousness to wherever the task is that they have to go. It's usually double blind, and they do it in a way that they don't even know what the target is. They just go there. And then they come back with impressions. These impressions take the form of sketches, drawings, notes they take. Sometimes it's the feeling of metallic surface, or it might be the taste of dirt, or the smell of freshly cut grass. Disparate, sort of broken up little sensory bits and pieces of information that come in, and the remote viewer's task is to record all this information and then basically kind of get it all down, and then they take that and they look at it, and it's not by itself necessarily extremely useful, but when you combine it with a tableau of other intelligence sources, you can reinforce information that you might already have that you suspect to be true. You can start to add remote viewing to it and increase the resolution of the thing that you may be looking at. Now, it gets more interesting because it's not just one remote viewer. You can have a bunch of different remote viewers, and they don't all see the same thing the same exact way. So let's say you have one remote viewer and he comes back and he tells you XYZ is an object. It's out there. It's coming towards us. This is just a for instance. I'm not saying this is what's happening, but I'm just giving you a hypothetical. Well, if you're Robert Bigelow and you've got millions of dollars to spend on this, you don't stop with one remote viewer. You have 10. Why stop at 10? Go to 20. Go to 50. Get 100 remote viewers. As you get more and more and more remote viewers looking at this, each one of them is doing it independently. They don't necessarily know that all the other remote viewers you've hired are looking at the same target. So when you're done, you take all of that information from all of these different remote viewers and you put it together. And then you start to get a higher resolution picture of the intelligence that you are trying to suss out from whatever it is you're looking at. I think that there are a number of people out there who have caught on to this and they're doing it. And I think it was Joe McMoneagle, who was another rock star remote viewer who was on Jeffrey Mishlove's podcast. It was either Joe or it was somebody else may know this. And I'd have to go back and find it. But he said he gets hired by private companies all the time to figure out stuff for corporate espionage or NFTs or Bitcoin or like what's going to happen with the stock market. They do this stuff all the time. In fact, Daz Smith has a group called the Future Forecasting Group that this is what they do. And they actually have a whole Bitcoin thing that they do where they look at investments and they try to predict what the market is going to look like. And it gets even more interesting because they do stuff. They specifically look for things that a month later they go back and they compare the news about what has happened in the month after a session to what they saw in the session. So they always have a data set that they can compare their work to, and they score themselves. There's a very there's a method to this madness. So you've got Bigelow, you've got remote viewers saying there's some barrier out there. You have some kind of a pessimistic vision of the near future based on what they're able to see. You have Lou Elizondo saying it's not my conversation to have. You've got Leslie Kean saying I don't think too far into the future. The next few years aren't going to be that great. We're going to lose access to things that we take for granted. You have you've just got a lot of shit going on in this space, and you have Congress running around in a bipartisan way. This is a Congress that historically, for the last couple of decades, hasn't been able to do anything except fight and argue and bitch and whine and complain about each other. And now they're working together to push disclosure forward, even though it's happening in fits and starts, and there may not always be a smooth sailing to the end objective here. That motion is happening. And then over here, you've got Stephen Greer charging $3,500 to drop flares out of an airplane, and it's a whole different thing. So I don't know. SG says, Clint, I sent you a video via your website. If you haven't seen it, I think you should give it a watch. It's the closest thing to the truth. Which video? Gosh, I get so many videos. Which video is this? You should join us on Discord and drop it there too. Yes, SG, please get with Chris Hovord or Brett and make sure that they get your link and put it on the Discord. And for everybody else, if you're not already in our Discord server is up and we expand the conversation on Discord, and we're going to be doing more with that soon. So if you have videos you want to share or things that you want to put out, Discord really is the best place for that now. We were doing it where people were sending me stuff and I was trying to post it to Reddit, but now we've got a great team on the Discord who is overseeing that. Brett and Chris are making that happen all the time and basically kind of handling the Discord on the day-to-day. So if you want to put a video there, that's where I'm going to see it. They'll make sure that it gets to me. We just have too many people now. I can't keep up with everything. It's gone... the wheels have left the runway, and we're reaching that point where there's only so many hours in the day, and I can't watch every single thing. So I do apologize if anybody has sent me stuff and I haven't responded to you. It's not because I don't want to, and it's not because I'm ghosting you or blowing you off. I promise. It's just because this channel has blown up and the Discord is blowing up and it's starting to take off in a way that I was not prepared for. So I'm doing my best to make it all happen and continue to grow everything and attend to everything I can. but I just have less time to do each one of those things. Chris Hovor just put the link to the Discord, the invite in the chat. So if you look there, you'll see it. Thank you, Chris. Christian Morales says, Keel concluded the lady's prophecies come true, 1970. He concluded that in 1970, or they were supposed to come true in 1970. Can somebody clarify what is the prophecy that Chris Bledsoe was given? What was he told? I read his book, and in the book, I remember him saying that he wasn't going to reveal that at the time because he didn't want to put the information out too early. This is always the story, isn't it? Like, I know something secret, but I'll tell you later. But buy the book today. But does anybody know what that prophecy is? I know his son on the Bledsoe Said So podcast has addressed it a number of times, but I don't know what that prophecy is. Christopher Hobart says, Night Shift, you will have to change the link in the description. You mean in the YouTube description? Hang on a second. I'm not sure. What link do I have to change? We're one user away from 100 Discord members. We went from nothing to 100 in 2.5 weeks. That's pretty good. Jeremy Dabb says, have you heard of Project Bluebeam? I have heard of Project Bluebeam. Project Bluebeam is supposedly a false flag event that was said to be in the planning phases where basically they would use, and correct me if I'm missing something here, but advanced holographic technology, reverse engineered technology. They were going to create a false flag UAP UFO invasion event and use that as some kind of a pretext to institute some kind of global control scheme. I think that was who was it who was the first person to talk about Bluebeam? Someone brought that up back in the 80s and 90s, and that's been around for a long time. Remember when Art Bell had his audience visualize an event to happen, and it would. There have been a number of experiments on group meditation, and there's random number generators. This is what Bob Bigelow is all about. His whole like research, NIDS, and all this stuff like that is what he looks at. This is why Bigelow is like, Elon is interesting and like it's cool. SpaceX is cool. You know, he's doing cool things. But Bob Bigelow is like a real life Ghostbuster. He's like a Ghostbuster. It's like if you gave the Ghostbusters billions of dollars and let them just run wild. Like, that's Bob Bigelow. Like, have you seen his building? Has anybody seen Bob Bigelow's Bigelow Aerospace? Hold on. I have to show you this. Oh, I'm in the wrong browser. I'm in Friendster. I got rerouted into Friendster. Where's the van? Remember that Dane Cook bit? Here it is. Oh, come on. Where's the picture I want to show you? This is the worst. I even hate it when people do this to me. They're like, let me show you something on the internet. And then it's like 15 minutes of them searching around for it. I'm sorry I'm doing this to you guys, but you got to see the side of his building. He's got an alien head. He's got a gray head, a head of a gray alien on the side of his building in Nevada. Here you go. This is oh, here we go. This is the picture I want to show you. Check this out. Look at this. That's his logo. That's Bigelow Aerospace. I mean, he's got more than one logo, but this is one of his logos. I'm telling you, homeboy knows something. You know, the other thing is, like, Bob Bigelow is such a badass. He not only, he just says stuff. He'll just say things just to see what people do. Like he did an interview not too long ago where he said, he's like, there are non-human beings on this planet that look just like you and me. You could sit next to one at a restaurant and you wouldn't even know that's who you were sitting next to. Like, that's something that we really have to take on board. This is not coming from just a nobody. This is coming from a multi-billionaire aerospace magnate who has studied this for 50, 60 years and spent millions of dollars on it. And he's telling you there are beings here that look just like humans. They're indistinguishable from us, and that they're not all around, but they're here. How can you, like, what do you do with that information? What do you do with that? Okay, Chris, let me check the Discord message. I'll see what's going on over there. Hang on a second. Unusual activity detected. Ooh, what's the alert review? Interesting. All right, so let's see. What's the message here? New Discord link. Old one has expired. Oh, okay. So I guess I'll just copy this link and put it in the Mr. Obnoxious was the podcast with Matthew Pines. That was the other thing. There we go. I just posted the Discord link as well. So if anybody hasn't already clicked it, you can go there. What if we are seated life and they look like us because they are us, basically? Oh, Brett Higgins says 110 members on Discord, 12 on this stream. You guys rock. That's great. That's great. Whitley Strieber says they can take over people like avatars. So in effect, it's an alien. And you even heard Bigelow in that clip that I just showed you on Jeff Mishlove's podcast, New Thinking Aloud. Did you catch what he said in that clip? He said this container, he talks about the body, he calls it a container. This container is on a ticking time clock because it's breaking down. But who else says container? Does anybody else feel like we only have like 4% of a story, that they're like, some people like Bigelow are sitting on like 60% of the story, and maybe Lou has like 30% of it, and maybe Nell has 75% of it? I think that's the question everybody's asking right now in the community, right? Like, when is the other shoe going to drop? One, and two, how deep does this rabbit hole go? We've heard all kinds of crazy stuff in the last 2 years about consciousness being something that can be pulled out of the body and moved from one person to another. Consciousness can be projected from place to place. You have, I've talked about on this show a bunch of times. I still think this is the sleeper story. Ingo Swan saying that when he remote viewed locations on the moon that he was tasked with looking at, he found people there. He found machines. He found buildings there. He found an operation there. There were things going on there. And he said there was something happening there that was interfering with consciousness on this planet. It was some kind of a base of operations, some kind of forward operating base or some kind of forward observation post. But the moon is not what you think it is. The moon is the moon, but there's something on it that we are not telling people, that we have not been told, but they know it's there. And it has something to do with how we are handling things here on Earth. It's somehow tied into what's going on here. Now, if Ingo Swan was just a nobody person, that would be one thing, but he's not. He's literally the Michael Jordan of remote viewing. So, like, what does that mean something? I think it does. Glenn says, hello from Norway. Well, hello, Norway. Hello, Glenn. How's the weather in Norway right now? Seco Activo says, remember Grinberg. He is the key to consciousness. Pavel, we need to talk about that documentary. I don't want to go. I don't think I'm supposed to talk about it. So I need to talk to you about that. I have so many questions. Pavel melted my brain the other day. He sent, Pavel blew me up with a documentary that I watched. And by the time it was done, my brain was coming. It was like soup coming out of my ear onto the table. So I don't know if I'm supposed to talk about what it was yet, but when we hook up next, I'll ask you about it. I bet the moon has a lot more caves. Well, yeah, it'd be like subterranean. If I could remote view, I definitely don't want to see nakedness. Consciousness can be replaced, then we can become immortal, just changing avatars. Your sleuths need to investigate the connection between wild vases from Egypt and consciousness. I'm convinced there is some. Samantha C says, you sleuths here need to investigate the connection between the wild vases from Egypt and consciousness. I'm convinced there is something there. I'm convinced that consciousness represents some kind of fundamental part of the experience of reality. I struggle with the vocabulary here to describe the scale and scope, but of what it is I'm trying to say. But consciousness is fundamental, and there is a way to access that and build technology on the back of that, right? So imagine, like, Professor X, what is that thing that he puts on that amplifies his telepathic abilities? That would be an example of something like this. A technology that could amplify consciousness, magnify it, focus it, direct it, use it for different things. Could dilate consciousness and make it expand or contract, experience time differently, something along those lines. And if you had 1 million years of technological development after discovering consciousness is a fundamental piece of the fabric of reality, what would 1 million years of technology, like, this would be something that we haven't even looked at yet. Like, we're just now understanding that it's a thing. Imagine 10,000 years from now, if we had the technology of consciousness, what would that mean? What would a society even look like? It would look like a bunch of wizards. It would look like I don't even know. I can't. It's impossible to conceive. It's so far beyond what we could even think of. Cerebro. That's it. Cerebro. The most important, Pavel says, the most important thing to understand about consciousness is that it's non-local. I am 100% on board with that. I am 100% on board with that. The Monroe Institute, astral projection. The Monroe Institute, the CIA hired Robert Monroe. These are not, you can Google this. This is published information. It's on their website. By the way, there was a clip on UFOB yesterday of Russell Targ. Look up who Russell Targ is. Russell Targ and Hal Puthoff, Stanford Research Institute. Russell Targ was running the remote viewing program with Hal Puthoff. But Hal Puthoff, the guy at the center of the entire UFO UAP research effort in the United States for the last 50 years, this guy has been like dead center in the middle of all of it. He walks around with knowledge that would probably fry your brain if you knew it. This guy, Russell Targ, there was a clip of him on a podcast. You can find it. It's on the UFOB subreddit. Go there. And I'll try to find it and post it in our Discord and on our Reddit as well, of Russell Targ saying that they got the funding at NASA, through NASA, to study remote viewing from Wernher von Braun. Think about that. Because Wernher von Braun, believed that the information that he got to help him design rockets came from a non-local source. And this is not the first time this has happened. This is something that is referred to again and again and again. You go back and look at these stories. Many researchers, many scientists, many extremely high-level thinkers. There's oh, fuck, who was it? It was Stephen Hawking would get stuff in dreams. Downloads in dreams. Now, I'm going to go out on a limb here. I've said this before, and I believe it's true. Hollywood has been slow dripping disclosure nuggets to us for 50 years. How do I know this? I don't, but I'm guessing. And the reason I'm guessing is because we see associations between Disney and the Central Intelligence Agency. In fact, even in the forward, the first few pages of Imminent, if you read that book, go look at the forward. Chris Mellon talks about the CIA hired Disney to help them convince people that UFOs and UAPs weren't a real thing. It was kind of a silly thing. So there's a connection between Hollywood and the military industrial complex that goes back decades. And that's widely known. But there's a movie called The Explorers. The Explorers was with Ethan Hawke and River Phoenix, and it came out in, I want to say, 1985. And in that movie, Ethan Hawke's character falls asleep and has a dream. And in the dream, he receives a download, a telepathic download. They show it in the movie. They show this sequence. And he has this download and he draws on a piece of paper. He wakes up and he rushes over to his desk and he sketches this thing out. And it looks kind of like the flux capacitor from Back to the Future. It's like this little circuit thing. And he goes to River Phoenix's house and the kids design this thing and they build it. And when they build the machine, what does it do? It makes an orb. They switch it on and a fucking orb appears. It looks like a bubble, a glass bubble. Remember that thing in Labyrinth that David Bowie's doing the little thing with the crystal ball? It looks just like that. And they find out that they can make this orb, this bubble, expand smaller. They can make it float. They can make it fly. They can make it move around. They can do things with it. There's that. I've talked about Flight of the Navigator a dozen times in the last 2 weeks. That movie, same thing. E.T., Steven Spielberg's new documentary series called The Dish, I think, that's coming out soon. Supposedly, a lot of that stuff is that's going to be in there is pre-disclosure to soften people up, to put the concepts out there, to give us the framework to start to think about this next level reality that we're about to go into. It just makes you dizzy. It really does to think about it all. Yes, Brett. Thank you. This is my time. I've got to wrap it here. Thank you so much. I was looking at the clock. I'm like, I gotta roll here. David Lynch, Planet Algol says there's an interesting interview with David Lynch. The David Lynch meditation interview where he talks about transcendental meditation. All right, I'm going to leave you with this. I'm not going to show it. I'm just going to put it in the chat. But David Lynch explains transcendental meditation. You want to see something that's really great. If you have not watched this, I'm going to put this in the chat and then I'm going to bounce out of here. Yeah, River Phoenix. Watch this clip that I just put in there. You can see it in the chat. It's David Lynch explaining transcendental meditation. He talks about consciousness and he talks about all this stuff. It's just fascinating. Okay, back in the early 80s. Let's one last look at the chat. Yeah, I've got to go. Okay, gang, I'm going to wrap it there. I've got to bounce out of here. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. It was another fun, exciting podcast. I'm always excited to do these. I know that sometimes they're all over the map, but it's fun. And this was great to talk to you guys. I'm going to have Pavel, if we can hook up over the weekend. We'll see if we can get Pavel back. I talked to Patrick earlier today. We're going to be doing some more stuff soon. We've got some exciting things coming up with Bob Lazar. I can't talk about it. It's not Bob personally, but it's going to be Bob Lazar related stuff. Very exciting stuff. I can't wait to share that with you. So stick with me. Hang in there. Next week, we'll be back. And what else? Until then, hang out on the Discord. Come check us out there. I'm in and out of there here and there. And you can go to teamnightshift.com. Check out our website. If you want to support the show, you can do that by becoming a member on YouTube. That really helps. That gives us a little bit more support for me to take the time away from my other two careers and do this. And let's see here. And if you really want to support us and you want to be super hip and super cool, go to teamnightshift.com. You can pop over to our merch page, check out some of our cool merch, get yourself a badass Night Shift t-shirt. These are super cozy, super comfortable. Or get yourself the muscle tee. This is my current favorite for that warmer weather. I wear mine to the gym at least once a week. And we've got some new hoodies and stuff in the works. We've got the hat, we've got the mug, and the Shmigelow shirt. Informal poll. Should we make this a t-shirt? Guys, let me know. We'll put this on a t-shirt. Okay, gang. And then I'm just going to leave you with this. Thank you for watching, everybody. I'm gonna wrap it there. I'll see you on the next one. Keep looking up. And now listen to The Quiet Storm with Lou Elizondo. This is going to be my theme song for Night Shift After Dark. Remember Baywatch Nights? Anybody remember Baywatch Nights? I'm going to do Night Shift Nights. It's going to be Night Shift, and then I want a little neon sign that's like Nights, and it goes, tss, tss, and then it just kind of sparks up. Play this little storm music. All right, I got to go. See you soon.